All right, now the president is already telling Sean Hannity that this whole controversy could have been avoided if the NFL simply took action early on against Colin Kaepernick.
So I watched Colin Kaepernick, and I thought it was terrible. And then it got bigger and bigger and started mushrooming. And frankly, the NFL should have suspended him for one game, and he would have never done it again. They could have then suspended him for 2 games, and they could have suspended him if he did it a 3rd time for the season, and you would never have had a problem. But I will tell you, you cannot disrespect our country, our flag, our anthem. You cannot do that.
All right, former NFL great and author Burgess Owens with us right now. Burgess, great to have you back. Players are going to be tempted, obviously, to test this, push this. They say that's their right, and that flag, our national anthem, provides them that right. If any of them do so, in other words, if they choose to kneel during the anthem, what should happen?
Well, they should do what every other company does to protect their brand. Every corporation has a set of rules, parameters in which they expect their employees to abide by. These are entertainers. That's who these guys are. They're not business owners, so they need to abide by it or to face the consequences. If I can say this, though, Neil, I think the most important thing that's come out of this conversation is beginning to see what's happening behind the scenes. You have a lot of good-hearted young men who really believe they're right because they've never been trained to do anything else. If I can say what I remember growing up in, when Martin Luther King stood and they did their demonstrations, they did so in white shirts and black ties because they were not only fighting institutional racism, but also the stereotypes of the Democratic Party at that time of being lazy, irresponsible, all we can do is sing, dance, and entertain. You look at what's happened over the last 15 years. BET is what these guys are looking at every single day of their lives. It's owned by a white corporation, Viacom, and for the last 15 years, they have been flooded with anti-white, anti-American, anti-flag, everything they need to do to make sure they get out and be energized when it comes down to election time. We have a country now that needs to look at these kind of corporations that propagandize our kids and push misery so they can get their political strategy going. And this is a great time to talk about it. I think those are true low-life cowards, the board members of Viacom, who are all white, by the way, who allowed this to happen to my race for 15 years, and that gives them a positive message of how to make it happen in this country. So I would hope this opens up a whole conversation about the enemy that we have. It is not each other. It's Marxist, liberal, Democrats who use my race to get power.
So let's talk a little bit about what Commissioner Goodell is trying to get going with owners and representatives of the players' union to sort of settle this. And they seem to be using, and I could be mistaken, Burgess, this idea of the Cowboys approach. Kneel in sympathy, protest, whatever you want to call it, before the national anthem, all rise for the national anthem. Now, Jerry Jones' policy, the Dallas Cowboys owner, is if you kneel out the national anthem, you sit out the game. What do you make of that?
Well, they're doing what they should have done last year. I absolutely agree. If it wasn't for the fact that we have a corporation, the NFL, that is actually was more interested in politics, this never should have happened. They put parameters around every other kind of demonstration and let they allow this young man to demonstrate against our flag. So the American people have spoken. I love the fact that free enterprise and Americans across the board, every color, has told these companies what they need to do. They'll figure it out now. Now the dollars are coming out of their pockets. Maybe now that we're not going to subsidize them, they will figure out how to make it happen, and they will punish the guys who do not toe the line if they have to. And some guys will decide that that's okay. If they want to take the money and use it for this cause, that's fine. Let's see what happens during the off-season, because I think now we're going to have a flood of income and mentoring and help for these kids who, like you see here on the sidelines, have lost hope in our country because of the left.
This has become, as you indicated, and it's morphed into just a racial issue now for a lot of players, and it's seen through the people who watch this in the stands and on TV. So I'm wondering, I have a lot of players who feel pressure now to kneel this out, especially when white owners are coming back and threatening retribution if they do. How do you play that?
Well, we have to understand, this is an old playbook, Neil. I grew up in the days of watching Green Bay sweep, and they used to win just by sweeping right, sweeping left, and eventually it got old. in this country is getting old now. The idea of calling all white people racist because they don't agree with you, or calling all blacks, successful blacks, either Uncle Tom or coons because they don't agree with you. This is what bullies do. The left cannot come and speak to the truth and deal with answers and solutions. They deal with bullying of people who don't agree with them. So I see this, number one, is going to play out because the NFL will do what it takes to get their brand back as much as they can. Americans need to do what they can to understand the underlying problem here. And it's not what we see in the game. It's what's been going on the last 15 years by those that are purposely getting our country, our race, angry and failing.
Burgess, thank you very much. You're a voice of reason at a crazy time. I appreciate it. Burgess Owens, a former NFL great, best-selling author. Thank you, Burgess.
Thank you, Neil.